Let's paint some fun holiday colored lights and actually talk about the color wheel and how to darken these colors with something I love to use. And if you've been following me at all, you'll probably already guess what I'm gonna do. But if not, let's jump in and grab your paints. All right, so materials and setup today, I am using Arches cold pressed watercolor paper, and it is 140 pounds. It came in a pad, and I think it was like 9 by 12 sheets, and then I just cut it in half and used a half sheet. And then my paints today are Derwent, and brushes, I am using 8 round Princeton Aqua Light, and then also the 4 round Princeton Aqua Light, a pencil, water cup, paper towels, and then last but not least, this is the most important part, you need a cap from a water bottle. So first up, we're gonna take our cap, we're gonna put it kind of towards the side of our paper and trace that. We're gonna do 5 of these Christmas lights. Okay, now that we've got those traced, I'm done with the cap, and we can start drawing the top of these little lights. And it's kind of just like a rectangle shape that's like rectangle square shape that's rounded on the top. It's kind of more of a square. And then I'm doing them at different angles because Christmas lights, as we know, want to just go every crazy direction. Try and get them all similar-ish shape. All right, now that we got those spread out on the paper, we can do the line, the wire, going between them. Okay, so now we got the wire going between our light bulbs, and now we're good to grab our paints. So what I'm gonna do first is wet the bulb area and then also wet the outside of the area as well, because the light is going to be reflecting around the bulb as well. So this first pass, we're gonna come in and start to wet all of this. I am gonna leave some highlights on these. So I'm gonna make a little spot that is not gonna have any water, because these are so shiny. We're gonna have like multiple little highlights on them. Okay, now I've pulled my water outside my light bulb area, and now I'm gonna choose my color for this one. I'm gonna kind of use this dark plum color, but pretty much I'm doing kind of like a purpley color. So whatever kind of purple you have, I'm gonna mix a little red into it, make it kind of a warm, violety, magenta type color. Okay, now I'm gonna come in and start placing that on my paper where I got everything wet. And you can see that water is helping it spread. I'm gonna rinse my brush, kind of dab off that, and then lightly come and pull this around. And then rinse my brush, just kind of dab it again, kind of just letting this color slowly fade. And then we'll leave that one. I'm gonna kind of fix this right here, make sure that's good. Okay, leave that one and then move on to the next bulb, and it's gonna be the same exact process for this first layer. So I'm gonna start by wetting and making sure to keep some highlights on this. And I would say on this first layer, give yourself more highlights. You can always take some away later on as we paint the following layers, but we definitely wanna make sure we have some highlights on these because it helps them look more shiny. So we gotta leave that white of our paper. Okay, same process. Now I get to pick my color. I'm gonna do this one as a blue. Again, choose whatever kind of blue you would like. This is like a bright blue in the Derwent palette. Might add a little bit of the ultramarine. Again, I'm gonna rinse my brush now and then just kind of soften this with just a little bit of water on my brush. Okay, that's good. I can move on to the next one. I'm gonna choose yellow for this one. This is called a sun yellow. I might add a little bit of this sherbet yet lemon as well to it. I'm gonna rinse my brush and then pull some of this out. Okay, we'll move on to the next one, and I'm gonna do green for this one up here. So I'm using this Hooker's green. It's a nice Christmassy type green almost. Rinse my brush and soften this. Oh, I had too much water. Okay, we're on to our last bulb. I'm saving the best color for last, which is red. I absolutely love red. And then I'm gonna use this, the red on here is just called a cherry red, which is nice and bright. I might add just a little bit of this poppy red next to it, into it. I'm gonna rinse my brush and just pull some of that off slightly. When I do this, I want my brush to not have too much water on it, so I do try and dab a lot of that excess off on my paper towel. Okay, that looks good for our first pass on these light bulbs, and now what I'm gonna do is dry it and come in and do the black on the wire. So for my black, I'm gonna mix up in this side palette over here. I'm gonna use some of this violet and then some ultramarine, some of this plum color as well. And then I'll throw a little ink black into it. And right now I am going to still stick with my 8 size round brush for this, but when I do the wire, I'm gonna switch brushes because that's a little bit skinnier. So when I'm painting this on, I'm gonna leave a tiny rectangle on the side for a highlight. To be honest, if you didn't want to paint this in, you could just use a black Sharpie. It would be a little bit easier. All right, now that those are painted in, if you want, you could dry in between if you feel like you're gonna accidentally bump those with your hand. I kind of use my pinky as like a stable on the paper, so I'm gonna do that to then paint in the wire. But again, this is another something that if you feel more comfortable just using a pen, by all means, feel free to do that as well, because it is kind of a skinny line in there. Okay, that looks good for that. So now I am gonna dry it, because we're gonna come back and do a second pass on our light bulbs, and we'll talk about using complementary colors to do that. All right, so I still have all of my colors on my palette mixed up. I'm gonna switch back to the 8 round brush, and what we're gonna do actually to darken these now and to do a second pass on them is I'm gonna come in and grab my, so we'll start with the yellow this time, grab my same color of yellow, make sure I have enough in there, so I just add a little bit more. And I'm actually gonna use yellow's complementary color to darken this, which on the color wheel, let me grab my color wheel. All right, so with my color wheel, yellow's complementary color is purple, so that's what I'm gonna use a little bit to darken it, and I'm just gonna do the same with each of these. So we've got, then opposite, I can darken purples with yellow, and then for blue, it's orange, so I'm gonna darken the blue one with a little bit of orange. For green, it's red, so I can darken this a little bit with red, and then opposite, I can darken red with a little bit of green. So that's how we're going to darken these right now, and I'm just gonna take a little bit of actually the purple right next to me, and now I'm gonna put this on this light bulb. I'm gonna get a little water on my brush just to kind of soften this, and then also take a little bit off so it's not too dark. Again, I'm gonna rinse my brush now completely, have no paint on it, because I'm gonna blend this in. I don't want this to be too dark over here. So I'm just kind of pulling this color. Okay, so that's our second pass, and I'm gonna do the same thing on each one of these, and then we're gonna come back with a third pass and go just even slightly darker to build up these nice different dimensions on the light bulb by having kind of a light value, a mid value, and a dark value. So now I'm gonna do the same with the purple. I'm gonna grab a little bit of orange. Now for green, I'm going to come and grab a little bit of red. Rinse my brush and then just soften some of this. So when I soften, I'm just using barely a little bit of water on my brush, but mostly just, I dab my brush off even just on my paper towel, so it's coming just slightly damp. Okay, now last but not least, we've got red. Add a little bit of green. Rinse my brush and soften all this. Okay, we're gonna dry this, and then we're gonna come back with one last layer, and we're gonna go even a little bit darker, and then when we put these final strokes on our light bulb, we're gonna get a little bit more hard edges on them to kind of build the shape. Okay, so I'm gonna start with my red this time. Add a little more green again into that, and a little more paint just in general, so a little bit more red as well. And I'm gonna come in now and kind of put in some nice dark lines on here. Dark, not just lines, but markings kind of on this light bulb. And then I'm just dabbing some of the paint off my brush, because I'm just gonna kind of play with just some of the edging right here. And then I'm just gonna go a little bit darker right here. Okay. And then I'm going to kind of blend that slightly. Okay, I'm gonna stop on that one, and then I'm gonna move on to my next one, which will do the green one. I feel like I could even do another pass on these, so I might. We'll see. I feel like I could even use one more darker layer. I love building up and kind of layering a lot and just getting those darks really nice and dark on there to add a lot of contrast. I think it's just kind of a fun way to paint. So I might come back and do one more pass. We'll see. Usually when I'm thinking about my colors and my values and when I'm doing a painting, I usually stick with or at least my minimum is doing a light, mid, and a dark value on an object, this is like our third pass right now, so this is our dark. But that's again like my minimum requirement when I'm painting something. Usually if it needs more, then I'll add more. I'll keep going. So that's kind of my thought process. Okay, and then our purpley one. It's easier doing, for me at least, doing soft edges than hard edges because they leave such a bigger statement. I'm coming back and just fixing the edging on this blue one. I could tell it was slightly off. So it's usually when I do get to those final layers where I'm doing hard edging and I'm not blending and softening it, it's a struggle because again, they're harder for me. So it can take me a little while. Okay, I'm gonna dry these real fast so that I don't bump them. Then I'm gonna do the shadow underneath the bulbs before I decide if I wanna come back and do one final layer on them. So what I'm gonna do is do a really light gray for the shadow under the wire. So I'm gonna come on the left side of, I'm gonna dab my brush and get a little of that excess off. I'm gonna come on the left side of this and just follow the same shape that our wire, and then to the left side of the top of the bulb is where I'm kind of then putting the shadow underneath this. This part's kind of fun because it gives it that three-dimensional kind of look. All right, we'll dry that real fast. And then I am just gonna come back and do one final pass on these light bulbs, just doing the same exact process. So it's kind of a fun process since we just kind of keep doing the same thing over and over each time, just kind of building that up. All right, so I'm gonna call that good. I kind of got some nice little harder edges on there with that final pass of a nice darker layer, and I'm gonna pull off the tape. I hope you had fun painting these holiday lights with me and kind of got you in the fun spirit of this season. I will see you guys next time. Thanks for playing along. If you could like and subscribe and comment anything you'd like to see in the new year. One of my biggest goals is to start adding a lot more fun little tutorials to this channel. So I'd love to have a growing list of what you guys would love to see me paint and or anything else on this channel. So have a great holiday season and thanks for following along.